Let's see some things now. Let's see the comments.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to, I don't know. I don't have a name for this. Mindset Power Hour. I don't know.
Oh, I like it. Roll with it.
Guys, hop on if you're watching. Let me know if you can see both Michelle and I. We're having a kind of very esoteric and psychedelic experience with Michelle because I can see her, but she can't see herself or me. So
details.
she's really kind of communicating from the other side, so to speak. Kudos to her for for just showing up for you guys when she can't even see herself, which is bananas. So thank you, Michelle, so much for joining us. Just so you know, you look fantastic. You are fantastic, and we can see you.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I'll roll with it. We'll make it work, right?
Awesome. So if you're on again, hey, Christine, can you see both me and Michelle? Just let me know in the comments. So I have Michelle, the amazing genius, Michelle Warner, here today with us. And I'm going to let her just introduce herself a little bit. And then I'll tell you why I brought her on, because as you guys know, I am the Wealth Therapist. I do mindset work with people. And okay, they can see us. Awesome. Laura Connor can see us. Yay. So, you can see the comments. Fabulous.
I can see the comments. Yes, I can see. I can see everything other than you and myself.
Oh, great. Amazing. So this is really asking you to live from your higher self. And not your physical body at all, apparently.
It's my own mindset lesson of the morning.
It's your own mindset lesson that your physical body is really just a stand-in for all the genius that is behind it. So just introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about what you do, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, well, thank you for the kind introduction. Being called genius a couple of times before noon my time is fantastic. But I design businesses, and what that means is that I've been working in digital marketing for, 20 years now. So I say I was in email when the dinosaurs were in email. And I just know how online businesses and digital businesses work. And for a very long time, I was working in marketing. And then I discovered that when you work in marketing, it's actually just a giant Band-Aid, usually to foundations of businesses that aren't set up correctly. So I also I
feel like I need to be inside your brains right now. Did you hear that? Marketing. Hey, Keisha. Hey, Donna. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Marketing can be a huge Band-Aid for businesses that are not set up correctly.
Absolutely. So people would come to me, especially, when sales funnels became the big word, they'd come to me and they'd want me to design them. And I would geek out on designing these things. And then I realized that I was serving people so poorly because they weren't ready for it. And adding sales funnels on top of a business that wasn't designed properly just caused so many other problems and confusion. So I went back to my own roots. I have an MBA. I have run my own multi-million-dollar tech startup. I went back to my roots.
School of Business.
Yeah,
mentored by Obama administration people. No big
totally. I'm not gonna lie. Two of my professors with Nobel Prizes, so that's not intimidating as heck. Is it in the classroom? I don't know what is. So I went back to those roots, and I just started teaching people about how to structure your business so that when you do slap on all the cool stuff, it actually works, and not only works in the moment, but works long term. Because that's the other thing that happens is your sales funnel might go crazy for 4 months and then it blows up and nothing works again and you're left with nothing. And that sucks.
Right. And when you have the foundation of a business that is set up properly, you can test properly.
Exactly.
You can't test properly either if you don't have a proper business set up. So tell us a little bit about that. What is, in your opinion, a business that is set up properly?
Well,
designed properly.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is that it's pretty hard to do from the get-go. So I don't work with a lot of people who are brand new in business because I believe in those really sloppy first moments where you have to just kind of elbow your way and experiment completely wildly and figure out one thing that works. So I'm looking for people who have figured out one offer that works, because when you have figured out how you can add value, how you can get a transformation for people, you kind of have to stumble through that on your own a little bit, or you work with a coach coach, but you don't want to necessarily be working with a strategist like me. When you stumble on that value proposition, that thing you can help people with, that's when I come in and we look at, okay, what do you actually help people with? And then let's look at the revenue structure of it, the profit structure of it. People don't like to hear about profit and ROI, right? They just want to hear about revenue. What is the team structure of that? And then what is the deliverability, and how can we continue to make your deliverability more efficient to your customers so that you can start scaling your business and growing your business? Because a lot of people come to me having figured out a one-to-one offer that works, right? And that's fantastic. That's 90% of the time that's where you should start. But that is going to quickly, you're going to quickly tap out of that in terms of your own time and frankly, your own interest in being able to support one-to-one clients. So then we start looking at what is that actual transformation you're creating in the one-to-one, and how can we make that more efficient, and what kind of model do you want to look at in order to deliver that more efficiently so that you can continue to grow.
Amazing. So the points there, and guys, if you have questions, just pop in and let us know what they are. We'll try and answer them live, and if not, we'll answer them post-mortem. The points that I want you to think about there is, what is your one thing that works? Have you found it? Is there one thing that people keep asking you about? And that's just a real, not everyone's going to be that honest with you, where they're going to tell you, you need to be sloppy and find out what that thing is first.
Exactly. And tell you to stop once you found that thing, right? As creatives, as business owners, we don't think about stopping. When we figure out one thing, we think about creating 14 more versions of that one thing versus really doubling down. And there's a lot of research that says, find your one thing and do that until you hit $1 million. And people definitely don't want to hear that, because they want to keep then creating, because they feel like they have something that's successful. So they create something else and something else and something else, when what you really want to do is double down. And as a mindset thing, that is hard, because that feels scary and risky.
Guys, this is freaking gold. If you're listening, if you're watching, this is gold right now. Because it requires two things. It requires patience, which no one online, is selling.
Right.
No one's selling it's going to take you a year or 3 or 5. Right. No one is selling keep pushing the one thing you're good at until you're convinced you have enough evidence that you can continue to sell that. People are trying to what's the word? Leverage before they're ready, because they're so tired of this whole constant pivoting of that first couple years where you're constantly, trying to figure it out. Exactly. And a couple of things there that you brought up that I think are so important to continue on is, those of you who are struggling for those first couple of years, let me tell you, I have worked with entrepreneurs who have hit, the true actual overnight success stories. I've worked with them. I've met them, the people who make, $1 million in 2 months. And let me tell you, that is so much uglier than those of you who might be struggling to figure out your one thing right now. Because what has happened with them is they have gotten lucky, either with market timing or with just figuring something out kind of by mistake. And they hit that same struggle that everybody else hits, because you kind of have to go through this experimentation stage and figure it out. They just hit it when they've already made $1 million and so much is on the line. So they're freaking out. I can tell you, behind the scenes of those businesses are not pretty. So, and there's a ton on the line. They're eventually going to come back to what you're struggling with.
Exactly. So I actually tell people who are struggling early, that's a good thing, because you're going to go through the struggle at some point. And right now you don't have as much on the line. You don't feel as much pressure. You're not trying to support a team. So embrace the struggle right now, because 100% it exists at some stage for everyone. So I say it may as well be at the beginning stage, because it's less painful at that stage, if you can believe it or not.
And you're building your resilience. You're building whether you want this. And I think the other thing that, comes into play here around business models and marketing is really, some people will call that human design versus business, in tandem with business design, because you have to, hola, Roberta. Hey, Christine, there are no shortcuts to mindset work. Yes. And you have to really know yourself to know if you can, like, so that you can have a conversation with a strategist so that you can know what to tell them about what you are and aren't willing to do versus I know a membership site will make money, but I don't give a shit about running a group. Pardon my language. So speak to that a little bit, because I'm sure that comes up. It's kind of like the funnels, the membership. I want to make passive income, like that whole, thing that happens in the online community. And what if that's not for you? What do you do then?
Great point. So a couple of things. I said, right before this that I've worked with those people who have made a ton of money overnight. I've actually stopped working with most of them because when they contact me, they're in this panic of, oh my gosh, I have to keep growing. What do I do next? What do I do next? But they haven't gone through that reflection point. They haven't figured out what they actually like delivering. So when you go to design a business, because I do not believe in templated businesses, and we'll talk about that in a second, but when you go to design what's going to work for them long term, they can't answer the questions. They have no idea. They generally want to continue helping people and serving more, but they don't know what's going to set them on a path, that's going to keep them energized. And so I've just said, I can't help you right now. You kind of have to, frankly, go through the struggle we just talked about. So that's, one thing to think about. And then the other thing
in turn, if I can interject for 1 second, if you can hang on to that thought. What's going to keep fulfilling you energetically is huge around your business model, because you are the source. So I want you to go through, if you're on right now, if you're watching this right now, or you're watching the replay, go through and write down what gives me energy in my business right now, which parts give me energy, which parts suck my energy. Which ways of the way I'm doing things with my time, my schedule, the amount of clients I have, what I'm charging. Go through these points and identify where your energy feels like it's being sucked out of you. So that you at least do your human design around like this. And instead of trying to fit yourself into the model that your coach did, or you see people doing, or you've seen, because part of what we do is like, we think, well, that's working for that person. I'm curious about that. I want, for me, it's the group thing where I would really like to be the person who runs a 50,000 person group, but I'm not.
Yeah,
I am not that person. And when I accepted that, things started going really well.
Absolutely.
Because I stopped trying to fit myself into that, even though I thought it was a great model.
Yep. And that's the thing. They're all great models. You just need to know what works for you. And Agnes, even I struggled with this. And as an MBA, this kills me because I just want to be able to slap the model together, right? Until you go do this. But when I was running my tech startup, I was in the wrong model for myself, and I burned out spectacularly to the tune of laying on my couch for 1.5 years and not being able to function. And so it's so important to learn that and to accept that, because what I do is I tell people I can design the model for whatever you tell me, that works for you. And then I also tell people, but if I hear you taking too many options off the table, then we're going to have a conversation about that. Because that's the other side of mindset. And Agnes, this is why I love you, because you embrace this a little bit, where it's not just, I just want to feel great all day long, every day. There's sometimes when mindset is about pushing yourself, right? You always say, like, if you're a person who hasn't been pushed, it's about pushing you. So that's another conversation I have with people is, whatever your personality is, whatever lights you up, we can design a model around that. But we got to make sure that you're in touch with yourself enough to know what lights yourself up. And it's not just taking everything off the table because it feels like it might be hard work. Because building a business is going to be hard work. We want it to be hard work that lights you up. And that's in alignment with you, but you're never, not going to work.
Right. And looking at like, am I resistant to those things from an energetic standpoint because it's just not aligned for me? Like for me, I'm not a person who has unlimited amounts of energy. I'm not that person. There's people who are firecrackers who need 4 hours, 5 hours sleep, who are just like, they're God bless them. Yeah. God bless them. That's not me, right? That's not me. So I have to design something that fits in with that. And I have to price something that fits in with that. Exactly. And Roberta's saying, which parts give me energy, and am I willing to change what I do as I go along, as this is absolutely going to shift and change throughout my business? Because you're evolving. Yeah. So there's going to be times where that model has to be retired, and a different model has to happen.
having the awareness and the courage to say that, right? Because you may have built something
courage to say that.
Yeah, you may have built something that looks pretty successful, and you have to say, wow, like I'm going to hate this in 6 months. I don't want anyone hating, building a business that they're going to hate. And so it takes courage to recognize those. So great point, Roberta.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, so that's an important point. You were going to talk about the next point, which is either not believing in templated businesses. And this, guys, is so, like, we talk about this in Mindset all the time.
Yep.
Michelle has had the same website for a long time, and she's very successful. Like, it doesn't.
I put it together in 45 minutes on Squarespace with some selfies that I took. Because that's my model. I have a wildly successful business, and I might get 2 website visits a month. It just is not important to my model. And so if you think I'm spending time or money on it, you are crazy.
So it has to matter to your model, right? And this is all like this like really cool alignment thing. Roberta's saying it's where I falter courage. Yeah, for sure. And this is why we're in this together, and we need to support each other in making these decisions that might not be popular.
Yep, exactly. And that is what I was going to talk about with the templated businesses. And this is, in online business, we love making everything black and white, right? Do this, don't do that. And so this is where people get stuck, because you do have to go through this very messy experimentation stage. And in the experimentation stage, I'm all about you using all of those free listicles that are out there telling you do this, don't do that, and experimenting and getting a sense of what works, right? Because you shouldn't be putting a ton of money into me at this stage, because whatever I design for you will probably blow up because you'll decide you like something else. So it's good to look at that black and white free stuff and just try different strategies. But then people inevitably kind of elbow their way to a point, and then they get completely stuck, because the free stuff doesn't work after a point. Because number one, you figured out what works for you, and you either hate or don't love the free stuff, or you start realizing that business is a gray area and you need to get out of the templates and get into what actually works for you. And so that's where I shine. And that's when I love to meet people, as they say, hey, you've used all the free stuff. I've experimented with these 14 things. This worked, this didn't work. Help me sort it all out and design what's going to get me to the next revenue goal. That's really hard thing to juggle, to know what stage you're at. Like, when am I wildly experimenting and using all this free advice or, course advice and stuff? And when do I need to buckle down and start recognizing what worked for me and what didn't? And I don't have a great, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Can you tell us a little bit about the different stages and where someone might self-identify who's watching right now? Where am I at?
I would say, I hate putting dollar values on it, because people have different levels of, frankly, charisma and ability to muscle their way. So again, I've worked with people anywhere from like $2,000 a month to $50,000 a month who are in the experimentation stage. But generally, it's helpful to put dollar amounts against it, right? And generally, I would say if you're under $5,000 a month, you're probably still in the experimentation stage. And then if you're over $20,000 to $30,000 a month, then it's definitely time to start buckling down and getting this thing personalized. But really, if the stages are when you get stuck, when you hit a revenue plateau, when you feel like you've been hustling and you feel like, you've been growing, figuring some things out, it's sloppy, it's not very comfortable, but you're continually growing, and then it just plateaus. That is generally when the free stuff, the basic stuff, different courses are going to stop working for you. And it's time to really do some reflection and say, okay, what has really worked of what I've done in the past? And, where should I buckle down, both in terms of the kind of thing that I'm offering and the format in which I'm offering it.
The kind of thing I'm offering and the format in which I'm offering it. And my finger looks really weird. Why does it look so weird?
I can't tell, so it's all good with me.
If you're just tuning in, Michelle cannot see herself on camera. So she is just doing this as an out-of-body experience, and it's amazing right now.
I'm just looking at the green light, man. Hoping you guys can see me.
So hitting revenue plateaus, I do believe has a match on the internal. I do believe when people hit revenue plateaus, they're hitting paradigm plateaus. They're hitting mindset plateaus.
Yep.
And that, you know, when I've worked with Michelle, it's been the same thing. It's like, you know, I need to dig deeper. I've been living on a certain level with my business, and I need to dig deeper about what this is for me. This has sustained me for X amount of years, and now I need something else because I'm seeing, you might be seeing, you know, traffic shrivel up. You might be feeling like everything is saturated, which is like an infinite supply thing, right? That I think my clients are, you know, just coming from one direction, or I'm thinking that my income is coming from clients versus just me. And I'm unsure about my own supply. So there's things you have to check both on the mindset front and then on the external front, but there's definitely a match there. And I'm sure that's like sometimes tricky for you, you know, in terms of like, you might be able to plan it out for them, but have they taken the mindset leap?
Exactly. And I'm learning more about that, and working with you when I did, like, taught me so much. And again, as an MBA, like that just kind of kills me that there's a mindset piece of it.
I know. I wish it was just an intellectual piece, because you can get there if it's just intellectual. You can smart yourself into it.
Exactly. And I do. So I'm screening, you know, I'm not perfect at that. And that's something that, you know, probably both sides. I talk to branding people about this as well, is how do you figure out, because somebody can on the surface look like they're ready for you, and then you realize like, oh crap, it's actually a mindset thing, or it's actually a bigger thing than this. And so I'm getting better all the time at figuring that out, but a lot of times it is a combination. So I love it when my clients are also working with a therapist or a mindset person in some format, because they do go hand in hand. And, you know, it's interesting because it tends to be a combination of the things. When you're ready to go deeper in mindset, when you realize you've been living on a surface of some sorts, you need the strategy, and you need to come to terms with the strategy, right?
And a strategy and a model gives you a level of security, which is also what you're looking for from your income, from your mindset, from your level of energy. You're looking for a level of security. Like, I have a structure, and it might have to pivot, but there's a level of security and relaxation when you can settle into that. It's a home, right, for your business.
I'm going to write that down for my sales page, because you're right. That is exactly what happens. Is people come and they say, you know, I feel successful, but I have this plateau, and like, here is a pile of raw material. What do I do with it? So there is a lack of security there, because they feel like they have all these things that are working, but they have no idea how to organize them any longer. I think that's why people come saying, I need a sales funnel. And like, okay, you don't organize that through a sales funnel. You organize that through a model, you know, and understanding things like customer journeys and customer development processes. And yes, sometimes that involves writing some emails, but it's a deeper question than that. So you're absolutely right. It's an organization in your brain type of thing. And that is absolutely a mindset.
Which allows more money to come in when you're relaxed about the way that your business is structured. So, what are the different models? What are people doing out there? I'm sure there's as many as there are people, possibilities, but what have you seen out there that you can share with people?
Yeah, so a couple of things that I can share is a big trend, and I'm talking online kind of service-based businesses here, right? So one thing that I see, very big trend right now, is incorporating some live component. So the days of the courses are definitely becoming saturated. And we'll talk in a second. There's ways to get around saturation. I don't believe in it. And at the same time, people are craving connection. So the days of, you know, passive courses, just people buying anything, they're not over, but there's a lot more consumer confidence out there and consumer maturity. And so therefore there's a lot more understanding what they need as consumers, and better mindset as consumers. And so therefore you need to recognize that and meet them where they're at. And they are very much craving personal interaction. So that doesn't always mean in person, but it does mean group programs are doing really well, because one-to-one can still be out of the budget of a lot of people, but they want accountability. They know that course completion rates suck right now, right? It's like 3%. And they just have piles of courses that they've not gotten through. So people are pushing away from that, and they want some sort of accountability. They want you live in some way, shape, or form. So that's a huge trend.
This is awesome information, guys. Again, it has to be right for you. Michelle doesn't go live, but she's live with you. It's not a course. Right. But it goes for marketing and for the deliverability of your product. It has to fit for you, right?
Exactly. There's ways for you to show up there's a million ways for you to show up one-on-one for your clients, right?
Right.
And that's where you can customize it, but just that is a trend that's happening.
Love that. It's an amazing thing to be aware of. Maybe if you have a course, like what I'm trying to do with PTP is I'm trying to like give them space to ask questions. So it's not just do it yourself. They have some level of support, acclimatized to that. And you're getting smart in your business just by listening to this woman. Would you agree? Because I feel like when she talks about the terminology, I just feel like a smarter, more savvy and wealthier business person, because I feel secure in some knowledge and something I didn't know. And like thinking about do I even think about my customer journey or my customer's level of savviness? Do I even think about that? So make sure you hang out with Michelle, because she's just amplifying that for you. And a lot of people that I work with and in the online community don't feel smart business-wise.
Right. And that's
or they feel in a separate industry. They're smart about that thing, but not about this thing. And it's good to hang out with people who know more than you in those departments.
Thank you. And that is something I geek out on, because I see so many people who are so good at what they do, but they don't understand the business side. And I want to talk it down to size for people, because it's not as scary. I say something about trends, and there's always ways around trends. And something that I also spend a lot of time talking to people about are the levels of market sophistication. And this is very MBA-y, so I'll make it simple and not boring. But basically, there's 5 levels of business sophistication that every market goes through as it matures. And we are in a transition from level 2 to level 3. And what's level 2? Level 2 is a level where people are so excited about a brand new market that they're going to believe anything. So that's why we saw all of the crazy claims working for the past couple of years, because people were just like, oh my God, what's this new bright shiny object I want? But now we're moving into level 3, which is about differentiation and doubling down on explaining how you actually make change for people. And that's one of the reasons we're seeing people want more one-on-one time, because they're in the transition from level 2 to 3 as well. And they no longer believe anything. So they want more reassurance from you. And so when you hear about differentiating yourself and really talking about you're crazy, you're genius, why you should be showing up for this, that is so important right now. Whereas before it was enough to just say, I can get results for you and you'll make blah, blah, blah in 2 days. Even though that wasn't true, people were excited to believe it, and they are not now. So doubling down.
No, they're really doubtful, and they're really scrutinizing where they put their attention. Not just their money, but just their attention, their following, their time, essentially.
Totally. And I think as business owners, a lot of people get concerned that means, the market's dead. No, it doesn't mean the market's dead. It just means it's moving from stage 2 to 3. There's 5 levels of market sophistication.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, so you just need to know how to move yourself from 2 to 3. And the way you move yourself from 2 to 3 is stop making all these crazy claims, or stop making any claims, and start talking about your process. Right? Start talking about why you create the results that you create, not just the results that you create.
Hope you guys are taking notes. This is like gold. Talk about the process. Roberta's saying, it thrills me to know that the thing I love to do, be live with clients, is trending well.
You're in a good place, Roberta.
You're in a good place. So what's the next stage? What's coming for us?
What's coming is starting to iconic brands. So starting to really build the Apples of the industry. And I would argue that some of our market leaders who have been there forever are already at that iconic brand stage. But it is just doubling down on brand building versus generic claims, right? There's a very big difference from saying, I can make you $5,000 in 2 months, to saying, here is my patented process that is going to build you a business.
So check out how cool this is. in terms of how it matches up with mindset.
Again, right? It's crazy.
This is about stage 2, which is about being, claiming your wild results.
Yep.
Stage 3 being about being super authentic and owning your genius.
Yep.
Stage 4 about how do you see yourself as a leader?
Yes. Yeah.
I love it. There's these really, for me, it's just like there's direct mindset, equivalents of this.
It's completely parallel paths.
Michelle and I should probably do some kind of amazing program together.
I'm not lying. It's all flying in my head right now because this has all been on my mind since you opened the door to mindset for me. And this conversation is blowing that door wide open.
Because there are just direct links to what you have to do in your mindset. So the next stage we're going to, because we want to be ahead of the curve and ahead of what's happening. You're going to start talking about your process now, and then you're going to start thinking about being a leader. That's really the next stage of mindset for you, is like owning your leadership piece. How are you an iconic brand in whatever way that fits for you, right?
Exactly.
That isn't about creating a whole lot of pressure and assaulting people with your brand and your message and it's not about that, right? It's about the level of embodiment that you do.
Yes. It's doubling down on kind of the sophistication of your brand. And those are the people who are going to survive. There is, as markets mature, there is a culling, to use a horrible business term. Businesses won't make it. But if you know the process, you will make it, right? If you know the process and you understand the steps, you're not going to be one of the ones who are going to really struggle are the ones who are still going to be hanging out in level 2, wondering why that doesn't work anymore. Those are the people who are going to struggle. There's enough room for every business that knows how to walk through market sophistication.
Guys, this is so important. And I feel so lucky to have Michelle on the call today because
thank you.
There's few people talking about this in a real way who really know their stuff. That you can trust, Keisha's saying this is gold. Start talking about the process. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then looking towards the sophistication of your process and being with people who are honest about how this, and to not, I feel like the hashtag and the real huge takeaway here, because even I talk about saturation, is that it doesn't have to exist. Saturation is all about perspective. The people who are going to make it are the ones who are not going to buy into saturation. Talk to me more about that piece.
Well, what came up to me as you were talking, and I don't know if I've ever really thought about this out loud, but it also comes with a mindset piece and a courage piece, frankly, of saying no to consumers who are still stuck lower on the ladder. There aren't many of them, right? The consumers tend to move faster than the businesses, but if you start having consumers coming to you expecting the crazy claims still and wondering if you're not legit because you're not making crazy claims, time to say goodbye to them and not work with them, because you need to stay in your integrity and understanding your process and doubling down on your process. And if they're not going to respect that, I've had some people tell me well, why can't you design a plan for me in a 1-day intensive and I'll have results next day? I'm like, no, that's not how this process works, right? And if you can't stay in integrity with your process, then that's also going to be a challenge. And that's a big mindset thing, to be saying no to clients who aren't right for you, right? So that's another thing that I would throw out there.
Clients that are not right for you, and a process that's not right for you, and expectations that are not right for you.
Exactly.
Overnight expectations. Real businesses are the ones that last, not the ones that necessarily have all the fanfare every single month. Right? They're the ones that last, that are resilient, that you are committed to this lifestyle, that you're committed to the level of energy. Roberta's asking, can we dig into what exactly market sophistication is in laywoman's terms, please?
Oh, yeah. That is just the process as a market grows up. So a brand new market, everybody is going to be really excited and, oh, what's this thing? This is interesting. I had no idea that online businesses existed. Wow, I'll give it a try. Everyone gets excited about the possibility. And then, this is the harsh part. Not everyone makes it, because consumers are excited about, let's use a new brand of Coke for an example, right? Coke like launches a million different flavors all the time, right? So everyone gets really curious and they think, oh, what's this new flavor of Coke? And everyone will give it a try. But then there are only going to be a certain number of people who follow it through and only a certain number of flavors that actually make it. And so that's the process of market sophistication, is you experiment as an individual when your business is early, and a market experiments kind of with itself early on as people figure out what this market is. And so there's just 5 stages basically of a market growing up.
And how does that reflect for you? For the business owner, what's happening for you in the market sophistication of your own business?
Of your own business, you are, it follows the trend of what we've been talking about in terms of mindset and in terms of how you build a business. As a business, if you're in step with the level of market sophistication or with the level of market maturation, which we all are, because this is a new market, we're all moving at the same time. So it means that we all started in wild experimentation, and now we noticed that wild claims were working. So a lot of us use those. And now we're all kind of freaking out because those don't seem to be working anymore. And people are getting mad when we promise 6-figure businesses. And so now we're wondering, okay, what do we do next? But since we're all growing up with this market together, we don't have a model as to what works next. We don't understand that yet. So that's where I go back to the theory and I say, well, step 3 is when we stop making claims and we understand that we have to double down on our business.
We're doubling down on our process. We're doubling down, and we're moving forward to becoming an iconic brand. We're kind of what we need to do is skip the part where we freak out.
Exactly. And just move forward confidently. And
not get sucked into the vortex of saturation, not get desperate and start throwing money at everything, thinking it's going to fix the saturation. It's not going to fix it, right? What's going to fix it is you moving forward.
Yep, exactly.
Then run that. Then feel aligned in the next. Libby's saying, makes such a difference to ditch the non-ideal clients and keep focus clear to do my best work. Absolutely. Roberta said that's adios old style clients. 100%, right? So think about who that next stage of client is going to be for you, as much as you're going to think about what the next stage of business is going to be for you.
Yep.
Now you're a freaking baller, and now you're thinking like an actual business person.
Yep. And one great way to look at these things happening in real time and relatively quickly is to look at some of Apple's successful products, because that just moves so fast, right? So go back to the start of the iPod and you had 40,000 different kinds of music players and a bunch of them were crap, right?
You're right.
Yeah. And so Apple just kept doubling down on what it does well, kept making it better. And now it's now in a phone, but you don't see all these competitors everywhere because they were all frankly cheap competitors who didn't have the courage to keep doubling down and being true to themselves. They were just, they were just copying the iPod. Yeah.
This is about courage, and this is about trust on a deep level that what you do freaking matters. And then Apple needs to be there.
Apple trusted that its iPod was best.
They trusted that it was best.
Doubling down on it. So you need to keep doubling down on your process and not give in to silly claims, because the claims aren't going to work anymore, right?
Guys, this is share, like, comment, throw your questions down. This is the stuff that needs to be watched by people, because it's important, because people are suffering. They're beating themselves up. They're in tsunamis of self-doubt with things that are just like normal stages of business and marketing. Right. And there's ways around it. Okay. So what is the person who, for example, just doesn't feel like a business person? Where do they fit into this mix? Because I get excited about business. I get excited about models and strategy and learning more, but some people don't. Some people want to do what they do to the best of their ability. And they're good at it, let's say, and they're successful at it, but they don't know how to grow. What happens for them?
Well, I would say if you're going to have a business, you need to be it doesn't need to be a passion of yours, but you need to educate yourself a little bit, right? The same way if marketing is not a passion of yours, you're going to struggle as a business if you don't know how to market yourself. So you do need to take a little bit of responsibility and educate yourself to some level, and then understand that that's, might be a team member that you want to add sooner rather than later. There's a fantastic book that I'll recommend called Rocket Fuel. I have it right next to me. Let me look at the author. Is Wickman and Winters. I'll show it to you guys. Can you see it? I can't see
Rocket Fuel. Yes, we
Rocket
can.
Fuel.
Someone put that into the comments because I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, Gino Wickman and Mark Winters. If you are a creative who has 14,000 ideas and doesn't love the actual running of your business, you're going to want to start thinking about their concept of an integrator and a visionary, and getting yourself to the place where maybe you're not the CEO forever, and you become the visionary, and you find a trusted integrator who, frankly, early on, the book will dispute me, but I believe it. Pretty quickly, you can bring a project manager on who can be an integrator of sorts for you and who can care about this stuff for you. But you want this trusted partner who then can grow with you and be the COO, then maybe be the CEO. And you can just keep creating those transformations that you want, and somebody else is there running the business.
Who are examples of those types of businesses?
I will go back to the Apple guys, right? They just create, and they have CEOs who run the thing. Back in the days of Steve Jobs. I work with, I don't want to name my clients because that's kind of weird, but I do this all the time I would say it's the overly creative people who want to tell you all the time that I don't want to deal with anything other than my ideas. And I
like
just
zero implementation. I know the idea is aligned. Thank you, Roberta. She popped it in the comments. Rocket Fuel.
Thank you. I know my ideas aligned.
They just want to hand it off.
Yes.
They're essentially the artist, and they want to have nothing to do with the implementation.
Yes. Or, and I say this lovingly, if you are continually screwing your company because you cannot focus on one idea at a time, and you just want to keep creating, then it is a great idea for you to frankly go off in the corner, create ideas, create things, come up with an idea bank, and then your integrator, your team you guys can put those in a priority order, and your teams can create those in the order which is appropriate to build the business. Does that happen at $5,000 a month? No. So there's a little bit of mindset there that I just believe that sometimes this is uncomfortable work for a little bit, where you just got to do what you do until you can get yourself into a place where you can bring some of these people on. And I think, again, when you know that this is possible and you know that this integrator role exists out there, then it can make it a lot easier. And you come up with creative ways to get that person around very quickly. And you work with the mindset of, I am working towards handing this off. So you work towards, if you're not at the point of being able to hire someone, you work towards being excited to give up control. Because that's the thing too, right?
Your mindset will get you there. Like Ashley said, if only I could eliminate my self-doubt, trust is there. So if you can work on that and break through that, you will 100% attract what you need to make that happen. You just have to trust. You don't have to do all of it. You can, some people don't even know this is a possibility that they can model it this way.
Exactly.
They would go find $40,000 and hire someone to do it because they believe enough in themselves and in their creativity, to hire a full-time employee to run it.
Yep. I will go find the blog posts after this and I'll put them in the comments. There's a guy, some of you may have heard of, Rand Fishkin. He started Moz, which is a great SEO tool. And he is the stereotype creative. And he had the foresight to recognize that he was running his business into the ground. And they had a ton of venture funding. They were very, very profitable business. And he was running it into the ground with all of his random ideas. And this happens to a lot of tech entrepreneurs, right? Because they are the idea people. And so he went and he actually took, I can't remember his new title, but it was something creative, whatever. And he literally sat in a corner of the office and just dreamed stuff up. And he turned the business over to someone else because he didn't want to blow up his own business. And he's just a beautiful writer and really shared that process wonderfully. So this was a couple years ago now, but I'll dig up those posts later today and throw them in the comments because that's a great model of it as well. Where and what you want to say to yourself is, I want to recognize who I am and what I'm interested in, and I don't want to blow this up. I mean, that's right. I have done that enough times. Yeah, I have a lot of creatives who literally say that to me the first time we talk. They're like, I'm scared I'm going to blow up my business. And we don't want that to happen. And so, to me, it's a little bit of doing what you got to do early on and, gutting through it, but working towards a model that's going to make you happy.
And your mindset that gets you through that is you're visioning about adding that person. You're seeing yourself handing it off. And when you move with that momentum, you should be able to relax enough to let in the income or the ideas or the possibilities to make these connections that will move you forward. Okay, so don't think it's like, again, don't make money the culprit here. Your mindset also has to evolve to that level of trust in your idea. So keep going, right? Like none of these things are signs that you should stop. If it's a desire in your heart, it will remain that. And you have to align the business model and the strategy with that. Instead of fighting it all the time, right? We want to get out of conflict and into flow in all of those places. And I can't believe we've been on almost an hour.
I know, that's crazy.
Amazing and gone by so fast. Tell us a little bit about how people can work with you and how they can get into the mix with you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you can go to my 5-year-old 45-minute website that we talked about. TheMichelleWarner.com. There's info there, but actually was one thing that's really exciting, and I was actually working on my website last night. I'm going to be doing my first beta group program and sharing some of these concepts for people. I'm so excited about it.
Amazing.
It is it's in the very early stages, but there is a sign up there to get on the email list for it if you go to my Work With Me page, or just hit me up in the comments. That is going to be opening up in the next 2 to 3 weeks at a ridiculous beta price because I want a great group to experiment with. And so if you're at all interested in that, message me, or again, you can check me out at the Michelle Warner, and there's my email addresses over there. Drop me a message and feel free to get in touch because, as you said, I feel very strongly about these concepts, and there aren't people talking about it. So if you are a person who may not be ready for a full model, if you're ready for a full model, by all means, reach out. But if you're not ready for it, but you just want to learn more about these concepts and kind of learn how to create it on your own, I am going to be teaching that come April and May.
Amazing. I mean, just from my own experience of working with Michelle, you get so much, like so much. I think
really try to not overwhelm people, but I don't always do a great job.
You get so much. It will probably take you, I don't know, at like 6 months, a year to fully consume what it is that she gives you, because it's just like a lighthouse. It's a lighthouse of security that you can keep. You see the beacon and you're moving towards it, and she's, you can see how her brain works. She's like a million miles ahead of you and me and most people. Not everybody. There's a lot of really fast people on this call I see, but she's the lighthouse. She's the beacon. This is her zone of genius. And you just keep moving towards the beacon. And there's a relaxation that takes place because of that, because you know now where you're headed. Even if all the pieces are not figured out, all the funnels, all the customer journeys aren't figured out, you have that beacon from that part of your brain, not the creative part, the logical, practical part. And there's a grounding effect in that we need. To keep moving us forward, so we're not just like floating from day to day, not knowing what is going on.
Absolutely. And that's how I design. And you put that so beautifully. Like, I want you to know what you're doing in the next 60 days, but I also give you, I try to work on like a 9 to 12 month time frame, right? So you know where to go, you know exactly what to do now, but you know where it's headed as well, because I think that's the most powerful place to be.
Takeaways from this call, guys: the stages of business, making sure they match, that your business model matches your human design, your human model, your personality model. Making sure your clients also match those two things. Looking at the market as looking at everything that's going around you, not as proof of anything, but just a stage, a season of business that it will pass through. Making sure you have support on the mindset side for the trust, for the belief to then call in the things that will be able to, give you the ability to create the structures that you want. Thank you so much, Michelle. This has been an absolutely invigorating call. Please share this, guys. You can find Michelle at themichellewerner.com. Follow her on Facebook. Also follow her. Where's Watson? She is the cutest dog
Watson,
ever.
Yeah, he is adorable, isn't he? Oh my God. He just got back from boot camp and it's the best thing ever.
I love my clients and my colleagues, but I love their dogs more.
I am on Instagram at Michelle.Warner. He is on Instagram at Watson the Black Setter because he is a Black Irish setter, which is the cutest thing ever. So yes, check him out. We had a big snowstorm last night, which was crazy. So there's might be video on there this morning of him losing his tennis ball in the snow this morning.
Love you, Michelle. Thank you so much. Guys, thanks so much for joining us and making this so interactive and amazing. And yeah, like connect with Michelle, connect with me, and who knows, maybe we'll like brew something together for you guys.
That would be
delicious.
That would be super fun. Yeah. And I'll hang around. So if anyone has questions for me, feel free to tag me in the comments too. And thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.